Greetings, beloved. I am Reverend Dr. Tawana Angela Davis. I have the honor of being the co-founder and the executive director of Soul to Soul Sisters. Soul to Soul Sisters is a Black-led, Black-centered, unapologetic racial justice organization that continues to fight for liberation, for we look to ourselves for our own liberation as we seek liberation and offer a stance of liberation for all. I come before you today in light of what is happening in Palestine. Paolo Freire, in his book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, says it is the great humanistic and historical task of the oppressed to liberate themselves and their oppressors as well. Why both and? Both and is truly a Afrocentric communal stance on how we address atrocities and injustices in our communities and beyond. Both and means that I can fight for liberation, for Black liberation, and stand on the side of those who are being oppressed and killed. And there's a genocide going on right now in Palestine. The Honorable Angela Davis, in her book, Freedom is a Constant Struggle, she talks about the importance of Black people who are intertwined with Palestine. Our Black liberation in Palestine is intertwined for centuries. And it's so important for us to acknowledge that and step up and stand on the side of the oppressed. The Honorable Angela Davis also says Palestine is a moral litmus test for the world. So, as a leader in this leaderful organization called Soul to Soul Sisters, there are three things that we are calling forth. We are calling forth a ceasefire, right? An immediate ceasefire of this unjust war that is happening. We are standing on the side of our Palestinian siblings to end apartheid, to end the lack of or the intentional disruption of things that are needed to live and survive: communication, water, food, any type of access to live and not die at the hands of systemic ills. We're calling for an immediate restoration of these things. And finally, we are calling forth liberation. We are calling forth for the liberation of Palestine. We are calling forth for the liberation so that they may have an opportunity to acquire and be restored to the land that they once owned and the resources they once owned. We rebuke capitalism. We rebuke the fact that this is being called counter-terrorism when we are faced here in America with terroristic threats every day as Black beloveds, as the color of our skin is a perceived threat. And so this false narrative of counter-terrorism must be abolished, must be dismantled. We must not couch this into a false premise of counter-terrorism. So as a representative, as a representative of the Black community overall, as a Black woman, as a freedom fighter, as an activist and an advocate, as a leader in this leaderful organization called Soul to Soul Sisters, we hope that you would stand with us as we fight for liberation and freedom, peace and restoration. Freedom is a constant struggle. Thank you, Honorable Angela Davis. And I hope that we will understand that in this struggle, there is a semblance of hope. St. Augustine says hope has two daughters, two beautiful daughters: anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and the courage to ensure they do not remain that way. So I invite you to a stance of hope. I invite you to a stance of revolution. I invite you to a stance of dismantling and dismembering and totally dismissing these false narratives that continue to place us in a place of historical and current oppression and marginalization. Beloveds, we must come together to fight this good fight, to end these atrocities. I mourn the death of anyone who unfortunately is a part of the casualties of war, the innocent civilians. I also stand against going into spaces and places and methodically killing civilians, innocent civilians. I invite you to stand with us, calling forth a ceasefire, standing with our beloved Palestinian siblings, and to call forth liberation. That is freedom from the oppressed and the oppression, and to restore what has been taken from our Palestinian siblings. I am Reverend Dr. Tawana Angela Davis, and I stand with Soul to Soul Sisters in supporting the ending of apartheid, a ceasefire, and calling forth liberation. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo.